Okay, 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Capati.
Here.
Mr. Ranieri. Here. Mr. Lobenstein. Here. Mr. Shapiro.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly. Here. Mr. Farrell.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Basor.
Here.
And Ms. Sterling.
Okay, public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner. 1, it was posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office on January 5th, 2022, and 2 was emailed to the retrospect and current post on January 5th, 2022. We're going to skip the regular order. We have a few special things we're going to do. So, Chief?
All right, welcome everybody. Sorry about my voice, but I was yelling a lot over the past weekend. One of the things that's important to me is, and the mayor and council, is that we recognize people for the things that they do for their years of service, among other things. So tonight we've got a couple special presentations, as well as we're hiring a full-time officer. So we're going to start off with Sergeant Arthur Burns, front and center. Sergeant. Sergeant Burns tonight is putting in his 20th year plaque. I don't know. It's not always peaches and cream your whole career, but I would say now 20 years. He's doing a fantastic job and put 20 years in somewhere. We want to recognize that. So for Sergeant Burns.
Third Runnemede, are you ready? Mayor and Council honor Sergeant Arthur Burns, Police Department, in recognition of the 20 years of dedication and outstanding service that you have provided to the residents of our community. Thank you.
So, if everybody knows, this is Mayor Kapadas and our director, as I'll announce, the face of public safety, Mrs. Eleanor Kelly.
I want to thank the chief. I want to thank everyone for coming. As always, it's always a great turnout. It's no surprise for you, even though I think I wrote it in the environment. But that's okay. It's always great to see people. This is your career. It should be a career for you, for all of you men. And hopefully this is a place that you come and you work your whole life, and we appreciate it and everything you guys do. So anything we can do to support you guys, you know you've got the support of myself and the members of council, and you know you got the support of Ms. Kelly. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. When Chief said to me, I'd like to honor Sergeant Burns for his years of service, I said it's the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do. To honor loyalty, to honor dedication, diligence, and above-board service to this community. He has gone above and beyond whatever his duties were. And this is being recognized tonight, and we appreciate it. But you know, that's a nice plaque, but it's only a very small bit of the appreciation that we share as a community, as a police department, for what this man has brought to this department these past 20 years. It's just a small token, but it's a sign of great appreciation. Thank you, Sergeant, for your years of service.
You can do it.
They're the ones that get posted. John, is your diary? Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
Excuse me, can you all come up for a picture with Sergeant Burns for 1 minute? The mayor doesn't mind, come on. Sometimes you just gotta make sure things get done. See what I get Bernie's baby.
Our second presentation tonight is somebody near and dear to my heart. Loretta, can you come up, please? Your hair looks nice. Loretta was just retired, has had 30 years as a crossing guard. She was supervised by Captain Murray back there and Sergeant Wolin as of late.
The best.
And we thank her for her service. 30 years is a big deal, and I wanted to make sure she was recognized.
Here we go, from the Borough of Runnemede, from the Runnemede Police Department, Loretta Nolan, in recognition of your 30 years of public service as a crossing guard for the Borough of Runnemede. Your years of dedicated service are appreciated by the Borough, your co-workers, and the residents of Runnemede. Congratulations.
Loretta, we go back a long time.
Yes, we do.
And I had your daughter in my youth group. Right over
There she
here.
is back there.
Okay, old youth group member! How do you show appreciation for 30 years? She's out there in the rain. She's out there in the snow. She's out there. She's out there in the cold and she's out there in the hot. She served our children well. And this little token of our appreciation goes a long way towards saying thank you for your years of service. 30 years. That is a lot. Loyalty counts. Thank you. And it's great to be on
We're going to vote and then come back down.
Did I say you could?
Okay, we have a little bit of business and then we'll continue with the abbreviated agenda. You know, we're going to skip that. Yeah, I'm going to read the one.
It's just a small talk. My appreciation.
We're going to go to resolution 22-124, is a resolution confirming 2022 appointments. In the police department, we have Brian Zimmer Jr., police officer, Veronica Jean McCormick, crossing guard, Barbara J. Haynes, crossing guard, Tracy Washart, matron, Jacqueline Ortiz, matron, Tia Chernowski, sorry, I apologize, Public Works, Matthew L. Barnett, and Construction Office, John Siliberti. Would someone like to make a motion to approve all those?
I'll make a motion to approve all those appointments.
Is there a second? Motion by Ms. Kelly, second by Mr. Lobenstein. Roll call, please.
Ms. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro.
Yes.
And Mr. Aaron.
Yes.
5 ayes, 1 absent.
All right, the resolution is adopted. We're going to swear in our new officer. You know, you think I'd have this memory.
She like stares at him.
I'm sorry. Your parents, does somebody want to hold the Bible? Anybody want to say? You stand over here. Let everybody see. Raise your right hand, put your left hand on the Bible. That's it. Okay? Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United
and the
States
state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
and under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of
of the office of
police officer
police officer
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
and that I will not use my office
and I will not use my office
to grant preferential treatment,
to grant preferential treatment,
nor to seek personal gain,
nor to seek personal gain,
favor or advantage
favor, or advantage
not available to the general public.
not available to the general public.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. I met him in the parking lot, I'm sorry. But, you know, I do want to say something about that as you guys are all sitting here. One of the things I said to Officer Sergeant Burns and new Officer Zimmer was, one of the things that's important to me, you know, I was not part of the process of hiring. And I want to explain to everybody why, because, you know, the loyalty that Ms. Kelly talks about, it's not loyalty to us, to me, the mayor, it's to the community, it's to the residents. We did say that. I thought that was very important that we say that. But the loyalty is to the job, that you guys, this career that you guys have gone on, you have that dedication to the job and the loyalty to the job. So I just wanted to make that clear, that that's one thing I wanted everybody to understand that I thought was very important that you said. So thank you all. And congratulations.
We have great expectations. You have a wonderful career ahead of you. You are joining a police department like none other. Believe me when I tell you that. It hasn't been confirmed time and time again. You're a very fortunate young man to be part of this department and to work with our chief. He's an amazing man, and he will bring you along, as well as the sergeant that you'll be working under, who will be?
Patrolman Marchese will be his direct training officer under Sergeant Olson.
Jersey Joe Lewis.
Yeah. Good luck to you. We will be looking at what you're going to be doing in the next 25 years.
The owner still be here. So you want to
All right.
thank you.
Thanks for everybody for coming. Sorry again about my voice, but it's important that when we lose an officer or somebody retires, that we pick the right person. I want to thank all the professionals up here. Our mayor and council are the best. They support us. We have the best police officers. They here to throw their uniform on to come up for this. I couldn't ask for a better police department, and I'll say it until the day I leave and years beyond. We have the best police department around. Brian went through the process. It's important that when I interview somebody that they have the same passion for the job and the same passion that I have and these guys have. We have to make the right hires because you want somebody to stay for 30 years, and it's important that I get it right. And if we have enough people, the sergeants, he goes through with the sergeants, the public safety committee, because I'm a short timer, I'm not going to be here forever. I want these guys to have a great working officer that'll fit in here. I know Brian, his dad's a chief. I had a couple phone calls with his father, asked him a couple simple questions. And, my interviewing and talking to Brian, I got exactly what I needed. He's going to be an asset to the police department, and he's going to realize that not only we have the best police department, we have the best residents, that we interact with our residents like no other. This police department in this town is like no other. So when you work here, you know, when I got the job in 95, 96, full-time, I never wanted to go anywhere else. And the best part of my job now is seeing these guys just prosper and interacting with the residents. So that's the kind of officer I want, one that'll be able to interact with the residents with no problem. So I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. We got a few more things going the rest of the year, and we got some big things going in January. So thank you guys for coming out again. We have the best guys, the best police department, and residents. Thank you guys.
So just to let everybody know, you guys are going to take some pictures and things like that. You're obviously welcome to stay for the meeting, but we can take a few-minute break to let anybody who wishes to go. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting. You're more than welcome.
We have one rule about the picture room. You can't look down, you gotta look straight ahead.
Carpet's screwed up.
Okay.
It was like big flower boxes.
All right, we ready? I'll call this meeting back to order. Okay, here we go. We're going to start off with the approval of minutes. A motion is in order for the approval of minutes of the August 30th and September 6th meetings submitted by the clerk, as each member has received copies of the same. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
A motion by Mr. Ranieri, second by Mr. Lobenstein. All in favor? Okay. Reports?
I have the report of the police department for the month of September, a total of $41.70 was collected in accident discovery and solicitor reports, and $7 in firearm permits. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. I have the report of the registrar of vital statistics for the month of September, a total of $1,360 was collected for death copies and marriage copies. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. I have the report of the borough clerk for the month of September. A total of $222.40 was collected in licenses and permits. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. The report of the tax collector for the month of September. A total of $433,289 was collected in taxes, and in sewer rentals, $85,577.19 was collected. I have the report from the construction office for the month of September. A total of $11,954 was collected for COs, zoning and permits. All monies were turned over to the treasurer. I have the report of the fire marshal for the month of September. The fees collected in September were $2,535, and there were 95 total inspections and one fire investigation, no fire lane violations. All monies were turned over to the treasurer, and the September EMS fees collected was $33,623.42. And all monies were turned over to the treasurer, and that's all that I have.
Thank you. Someone like to make a motion to approve the reports as read?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Lobenstein, second by Mr. Farrell. All in favor? Okay, communications. From Dan Murray, we have a thank you note thanking Mayor and Council for their attendance at his luncheon, which was very nice, Chief, very nice, Ms. Kelly. Would someone like to make a motion to accept the communication?
I'll make a motion to accept the communication.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Ranieri, second by Ms. Kelly. All in favor? All right, thank you. Public hearing. We have a public hearing this evening. Ordinance 22-13 is an ordinance of the Borough of Runnemede, Camden County, entitled zoning. This is
The amendment to the cannabis
the
ordinance.
amendment to the cannabis ordinance. So those of you who are in attendance this evening, we have passed an ordinance allowing for cannabis in the town, but there was a couple things that we needed to fix. One was the tax on the product, and another one was a licensing aspect. So not only does the applicant need to get a license from the state, they also need to get a license from the municipality. This portion of the meeting is open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this ordinance, please come to the microphone, state your name and address. Now, there are other public portions, but this is in particular to this ordinance, if anybody has any concerns about the ordinance. Yes.
So I'm Susan Smith, I live on 57 Lindsay in Runnemede, and I'm not really happy about this because of the traffic. We already have a traffic problem here.
So that, you can bring that up in the next aspect. This particular ordinance, if there's something about the marijuana ordinance that you think is inappropriate or, excuse me, cannabis, what did I say? Yeah, cannabis ordinance. So, for example, what would be the, for example, like the cannabis ordinance there?
2%.
If you didn't like the collecting of it, if you didn't like the
Collecting of
the licensing of it,
the taxes of it?
yes.
No, I don't like.
If you want to speak about the proposed that went through the planning board, there's an opportunity again, that we have another resolution that you can come and speak about that one. That's more specific to the applicant that was here last Wednesday night. Were you at that meeting?
I was here last Wednesday. And we did give, Mr. Beebe gave, I think, a petition against it for the neighborhood. I mean, I can't say that I wish it would be in a different area in the city right now, is that what you're saying?
So the way the process worked was the people of the town voted 77% to allow for cannabis sales in the town.
And that was on the election.
It was at that, whatever, during the 2 year ago election time. So then the municipality, we originally voted not to have cannabis, and then we saw the rules and regulations, and we voted for the cannabis. But then we restricted it to commercial zones that met a certain criteria. They had to be so far away from churches,
Yeah,
schools.
I saw all that last week, but, it's like right adjacent to a neighborhood where there's children, and there's also traffic problem already in that, on Lindsay Avenue.
So tonight, we have because the process was that the applicant had to go to the CRC, which is the state, then they had to come to our planning board, then they come to us. The process we're doing tonight is we are considering approving, because they were approved for their conditional use. Now, you guys were at the meeting, they're supposed to come, our resolution this evening makes it clear that they have to go back in front of the planning board for a site plan approval. So what the site plan approval does is, they met the minimum conditions. Your concerns, which I have heard some of your concerns, I know you talked to some of the members, and I did hear it. Traffic is obviously something that has to be considered. The residential neighborhood has to be considered. So at the planning board, the borough engineer reviews the application, and those kind of considerations can be taken into consideration. And supposedly, so for example, you're on Lindsay, but if you were on, what's the name of the other street? Washington, or what's the street that's right behind it?
St. Clair.
St. Clair. So St. Clair.
Adjacent to.
Yeah, so St. Clair is an example. So St. Clair, a buffer would be probably in order to buffer that. In our ordinance, we didn't call for a buffer, but the site plan at the planning board, that could be recommended, that a buffer. The chief, there could be input from the public to say, look, we have a concern with this. It may not be required, but for us to approve this, we're asking for this. So at the site plan, there's an opportunity to make a public announcement. The public should show up, the public should say what their concerns are. The board is supposed to take that into consideration. The applicant can make a determination between the board, putting buffers, putting trees, putting stuff like that.
Now, how about moving it to the industrial park?
So-
Totally not having it there.
So we're past that. So let me make it clear, the process again. As you notice, people don't come to the meetings. Everything is advertised, and when we decided that we were going to make the zones, we had to have a public hearing, we had to advertise it in the newspaper, we had to do it over a 60-day period of time. So those zones, the council decided that we were only going to allow 2 licenses. We were only going to allow them in a certain area. And then other licenses we would only allow in other areas. So we were not even sure we were going to get a single license. We really didn't think that the borough would qualify for any licenses from the CRC. Amazingly, I don't know why, but for some reason, we had 2 applications and a possibly 3rd application, but the council has decided only on 2 we're going to consider for licenses. And those can only be in commercial zones that meet the standards. And the standards are, they have to get approved by the CRC first, they come in front of the planning board for conditional use, they come to us for a license, and in this particular case, they're getting sent back to the planning board so that they have to take care of these site plan issues. Now, that applicant could have addressed those site plan issues at the meeting, but they didn't, that wasn't part of their application. So the engineer and the planning board, you were there, sent it back and said that they have to come back in front of it. So while I understand your concerns, let me just make it clear, when we were looking at this map, if you look at a map of this town, if you go out in the hallway, there's a map on the right-hand side. Every single commercial zone backs into residential areas. So all along the Black Horse Pike, we have that. So we thought about that a lot, about where could we possibly allow these things. While there's concern about this product, and this is not the ordinance, and I apologize, but we are talking about the ordinance. In the ordinance, we came up with all these ideas that we thought were gonna work, because otherwise, if we made it so restrictive, there would be no places for it. Now, I understand the industrial park. We did consider the industrial park, but as you know, many people complain that the Black Horse Pike particularly was underdeveloped, needed revitalization. One of the big criticisms that I've heard for many years is that the Black Horse Pike needs revitalization. Now, why we may not like cannabis, there's many, I get criticized that there's too many pizza places in town. So we usually don't regulate the amount of businesses that come in. This is very unusual that the town is actually deciding 1, 2, 0, 20. So it's unusual. If you want to come back up and speak again, and everyone can speak, I will tell you that the correct forum for the next step of this is the site plan, because they are in conformance of the law. They are allowed by the state constitution now. They are allowed to have cannabis being sold. The restrictions in the neighborhood can be thought about. I agree, the St. Clair, people live on St. Clair, you definitely have a concern. I believe this board has already talked about if there's concern about parking, that the borough, through the police department, through our engineer, we can put stop signs on, we can put one way, we can do no parking. There are things that we can do to help the residents if there's an impact on that neighborhood, which we don't want, and that's the planning board's job, is to minimize the impact on that neighborhood, so. I apologize, it wasn't exactly this. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on this ordinance? There will be an opportunity right before we bet on the resolution. You can come up, certainly.
You're making points that...
Name and address.
My name is Stephen Smith, 57 Lindsay Avenue, Runnemede, New Jersey, 08070. You're making how this, when nobody's arguing about cannabis and whether we're against cannabis or not. I didn't even know about the vote for cannabis, but I'm upset that there was very little notification. You said you put it in a paper. I didn't get a newspaper, right? You send me, Runnemede sends me letters all the time about trash. Don't put this in the trash. Trash can't be this, can't do this. Picking up leaves here, can't that. How come the letter wasn't sent to every Runnemede resident?
Okay, we follow the law. So we follow the law, sir.
Being here.
But so the law says that we have to do our process. It doesn't say we have to send everybody a letter. I will tell you that this council did take extra steps. We went to the police department, was the first department we went to, and we asked their opinion about it. We did go to our borough engineer, we worked on a map. The idea is that we did a lot of work about this and made some tough decisions before we did it. Sir, I'm only telling you, it's.
I don't see the work myself.
Okay.
I know that my wife has complained about cars speeding down Lindsay Avenue to the police department, and we wanted to get a speed bump. No, can't do that. They're going to look, put patrols out. No, never happened. So what I'm saying is this, I agree, that's commercial property, but the use is going to have a tremendous volume of traffic. Runnemede stopped, wouldn't allow fast food restaurants on the Pike in Runnemede.
We changed that ordinance. Are you aware of that?
Well, then let's have some of them. Yeah, let's rules.
We did. We just changed it. There's an application coming in for Popeyes.
This, Mr. Mayor, is you are going to take our little section of Runnemede, and I've been living in Runnemede my entire life, 71 years. Now, I live on the other side of the Pike. Now I've been here for 50 years. You're going to devalue our property. You're going to make it into an unsafe area. Police department, as good as they are not going to handle that. They're not going to be able to handle the volume. They're going to come in from all over and come in St. Clair into that parking lot, and there's going to be cars. I've seen Belmar. I looked at down in Bedford. They're away. They're in commercial areas, not near residents. and there's people lined around a building constantly.
So the only thing I'll say.
This is what I'm talking
I
about.
hear you. So at the planning board, they have to bring a traffic engineer. They have to prove their argument that it meets the standards. I will say this, since you're not aware of how the law was written. Right now, there are 1,300 applications in the state of New Jersey for cannabis. When Curaleaf was there, they were one of only 12 in the entire state. So one of the reasons there was a great demand, and I'm not here I can't attest to how many cars are gonna come, but what we're doing is we're relying on professionals to tell us stuff. And we do have a security plan, we do have a traffic plan that is required by the law, that the applicant has to do it. I hear what you're saying, that there's concerns, and I think they should be voiced at the planning board to let them know that.
So is this, my question now is that building a done deal?
It is not until they've passed the planning board. This is just the next step.
And we gotta bring our concerns to the planning board.
Yes, and let me make it clear though, as long as they meet the criteria that is given to them, they cannot be denied, because as long as they meet everything, they can.
I do not understand that.
You're in the building business, right?
Huh?
You're a builder, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
I've been
so,
before the zoning board many.
all right, so you're a builder. So as long as you build based on the ordinance, you can't be denied. And that's kind of where they're at. If they're building on the footprint that they have, if they meet all the standards that are required, the law that we have, as long as they meet all of the 30 pages, then,
Real quick.
yeah.
There are safety plan standards, there are traffic standards, and there are parking standards within that plan.
Yes.
That have to be met.
So if they,
Parking is not the issue that I'm concerned about. It's traffic.
Yep.
Traffic, and my wife went to the meeting and they said, you can't use the product on the property. So they can go, now they're by my property. Okay, well, then it's okay. We can lay up, let's do it. That's
I
what I'm
think
concerned.
I think the police department might disagree with that a little
They're
bit.
taking an area, and I'll give you, that's commercial. But if I wanted to put, I don't know, a big porn shop or the middle of Runnemede, big flashing lights, nude dancers and stuff, you wouldn't want that. You know what I'm saying?
I understand your point about
Could I do it?
potentially,
Yeah, I
yes.
probably could get the building, buy the building, buy all the signs, do all that stuff, have the girls shipped in. I could do that. Do I want that for Runnemede? No, I don't. It's not the cannabis that I am object to. That's fine. But there are plenty of buildings. There's over by Bobby, back there in, by Triton, where the old CVS used to be, by Acme. Empty building. Would impact no neighborhood. Industrial park would impact no neighborhood.
Well, it's funny, the building there is too close to the school. And we didn't want it to put it too close. We didn't want it, I don't think it was quite that, but that particular property, it butts up to Triton High School. And one of the considerations was,
No, it's far enough away.
No, it actually, the land,
Then the church said it couldn't be within 20 yards of the church.
yes.
Well, what's it, 100 yards, and the church is 101 yards?
If it meets the law.
We're nitpicking.
If it meets the, but Mr. Smith, we had to draw a line somewhere, so we drew a line. And you're right, if it's 101, it meets the criteria.
Yes, and unfortunately.
It's close to your house.
How I go tape it out, right? Give me a
Yeah.
measurement.
That's what it's coming down
With
to.
a measurement tape, and I'll tape it out and find out if that is.
But what you can do is actually on the Borough website is a map that shows you the areas that cannabis is allowed to be sold. So you don't have to do that because the engineer was paid to do exactly that, to keep it away from the schools, keep it away from, what were some of the other criteria? Churches and things like that, daycare,
I know, but
yeah.
I don't.
But we couldn't keep it away from all the residential.
You can't tell me that there's not areas that don't greatly impact the residents. That's my point.
Okay.
There are areas in Runnemede that could potentially, I know I wouldn't want it up by the baseball fields. I would not want it to be up there. But if they got a building, they're saying if they got a building up there, they would be okay. It's not the letter of the law, it's the spirit of the law. It's whose lives you're impacting. Now, you're going to devaluate my property value, right? And I'm a lifelong resident, been here my entire life.
I don't agree with you, though. I'm allowed to not agree with you, right? I don't agree it's going to devalue property, just I live in this community, so does everyone on this council lives in this community. So we care about this community.
That's the thing, it's not
You know,
near your house.
I
If they were there-
I appreciate that.
You know, so I don't know who I have to go before to plead my case. I guess so now.
So the planning board, it'll be, all these applications have to start in the planning board. Excuse me, zoning board. So the next meeting will be advertised, anybody within a certain range will be notified, and you have the right to speak as much as you want.
Oh,
and-
yeah, I'll speak.
and be.
I promise you, I will speak.
Okay.
How will we know about notification of the zoning?
So I apologize, but it is in the newspaper, and then they send a mail.
Who gets a newspaper? Anybody?
I get a newspaper.
Do we advertise in
But,
That's our website.
By mail?
It's also by mail. Anybody within 200 feet is notified.
I'm just talking the 201.
Once again, we're only following the law, and the law says anyone within 200 feet, if you've been in front of the zoning board before, you just have to notify.
The edge of the property.
Yes.
Any edge of their property.
We have a software program that does that.
If I didn't get the letter and I am within that, then there's a real problem. But what I'm saying is, you have to let the people I've talked to, I know hundreds of people in Runnemede, and I've talked to everybody about this, and everybody was like, they're doing what? They're doing what? It's like nobody knows. So just maybe able to define a better way, maybe a letter to the residents explaining what's going on. And now you're talking about, gleefully talking about scoring another license. Now there's going to be another one somewhere impacting the town. And just what Runnemede needs is 2 cannabis. Like, whew, can't wait for that. You know what I mean? Like, come on, how much revenue does Runnemede need that they got to rely on cannabis? 2 cannabises.
There is a revenue aspect of
Maybe
it.
we shoot for 3 or 4 or 5. Maybe we can have the entire pipeline with cannabis shop.
Is that your
It's the
proposal?
drug capital of the world. I don't know.
Okay.
Hoping not. All right, just when we find out for sure when the zoning is.
This board does not regulate, that is all done through the zoning board. It's done through, if the applicant puts their application in, there's a whole process that they have to
I'm
follow.
talking about when I can come back up and speak before.
More than likely, it'll be the next meeting. It should be the Wednesday, it's the Wednesday,
The 4th Wednesday of the month.
it's the 4th Wednesday of the month, every month. We never change the meeting date.
That date is advertised on the electronic
We
sign
take his
too.
name and address.
It'll be on the sign.
I don't, you know,
Say planning board meeting.
You know, it is on our website, it's posted on the bulletin board, and it's the fourth Wednesday. If you just write that down, it is the 4th Wednesday. What I would do, though, is I would check the website to see the agenda, because the agenda can change. Sometimes people do not get all their paperwork together, and they miss the meeting. So I wouldn't want you to come to a meeting that no one's there. Now, if it's on the agenda, it's on the agenda.
And it not happen.
Yeah.
So it's not coming,
Then
and it does happen.
the meeting can get canceled, and then it would just be a
Yeah,
waste of
no,
time,
it's
right?
fine, yeah, that's not a problem.
And it happens.
But, yeah, I understand that. But what I just want to make sure that I am at that meeting.
Sure,
So, all right.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Stephen.
Anyone else?
Oh, no. I'm Suzanne Beach, I'm at 12 Washington Ave. So, actually being here has made me thought of another concern. First, I'll talk about my specific concern about having the dispensary here, which it sounds like ultimately I have to come back to the planning board meeting. But the trash with, we've asked our neighbors politely to work on the trash issue with the vape shop, and that's not really been as successful as we'd like it to be. And is this going to be another issue? And that's
So there is one advantage over that business compared to this business. So this business, it is highly regulated. So they have to have a security officer, the chief of police is able to, so for example, if trash is a problem, he can write them up. Where in our current system, it's a code enforcement violation, and you have to give them a ticket and bring them in front of the judge. In this particular case, if someone abuses their license, the council actually has the right to retract that license. Now, just so you know, if you were not at the meeting, from what I understand, any product at these places, they have to be sealed. Do you want to talk, do you mind at least saying a little bit? Because I know you were aware of the process, like all the product is sealed.
It's meticulous. I was very impressed with the people that I met in my office for security. I was very impressed. I had a few questions myself, and they were answered. And I was very impressed. Because as a police chief, there's certain things that I'm going to be, I need to see. Because, you know what I mean? Because I don't want my officers tied up with all kinds of stuff like that. I was very impressed with all the presentations that came in my office.
So you say there has to be a security person there. So how far out does the security?
Well, security would be their property, but once again, what the concerns are, if this product starts walking around the streets, our solicitor just made it clear, again, this is a very unique new product in the sense that their license has to be renewed. So if there's a problem, if the chief of police or the residents say this particular application that we approved is bad, we're allowed to rescind this application, which we can't do necessarily with a liquor store, or we can't do with a vape store, or with a pizza place.
Well, actually, can you do it with a vape store if people are coming out and handing it off to minors?
That would be there's the prosecutor, so.
Well, not prosecutors.
Okay.
So there is a process. We could revoke a mercantile license under certain grounds under our ordinance.
Okay.
Committing illegal activities like that or allowing could be a potential means. We would just need to take them to court and secure a conviction that way. So if you're aware of that happening, I would absolutely report it to the police because that would give us our ammunition to do what we need to do in order to revoke a mercantile license under the grounds set forth.
And they can be prosecuted.
Absolutely.
And they can be prosecuted under the law because it's illegal to do that. So
Yes.
let's make it clear, even marijuana, there is an age and things like that. So
Alcohol.
absolutely, all these things have these rules. So, this is unique in the sense that we can actually take their license away if they don't, live up to the expectations that the community has.
Can I say something? Yeah. And as a police chief, I'm in charge of property maintenance. That fell under me last year. I address a lot of it myself. Like, I'll get down the pike and say, hey, shake this up a little bit. And people are saying, man, the police chiefs call me? Because I like to get involved because I don't want to drive down the pike and see, tall grass and trash, you know what I mean? So anything like that, I would get involved and speak to the appropriate people myself.
And then, so just listening, this brings up the issue of you have to put things, post these changes that are happening in a newspaper. And the town has a government website. And this is 2022, and we're in a modern world now, so why can is it a state law, a municipality law that this stuff isn't posted on a website? Because that's a government site. So we could put it there.
We do it both, but once again, let's be clear, people don't pay attention to local government.
This is true, but I haven't been here, and so.
So all of our agendas are online, all of our ordinances, it costs $153 to put this in the newspaper. We don't want to spend that money. We would rather put it on our website, but the newspaper lobby came in and said, you have to continue to put it in the newspaper.
Under Governor Christie, they tried to take that away, and the newspaper lobby went crazy, because that's the only thing left keeping them afloat are public notices. But, to a point, could we post a notice?
Oh.
That's a floor, it's not a ceiling.
And absolutely, and there is another that I subscribe to, is a public notice website, where if you put a catchphrase in there, you'll get an email. Do you ever subscribe to that?
I've heard of it.
Okay, and you'll get an email about anything that comes up, not even in your community, you can specify your community, but any community. Because what the newspapers did is, to make themselves more relevant, they actually put all this on a website. So if you go home tonight and you type in New Jersey public notices, you will find all these, and it's searchable and stuff like that, and you can see other municipalities and things like that. But I hear you, I agree that our job is to communicate with the people, but I will say we are a representative democracy. The people vote, we are representing, we're doing our job. If we don't do our job, you vote me out.
So we voted on cannabis being in town?
Through us.
When I...
Yeah, the people did that. That was democracy. The people voted 77%. 2 years ago,
I guess I was the 30% that voted no.
you were the 23% that voted no.
23%. But that's just me. And everyone has their own opinion about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Democracy's messy.
thank you.
Okay. Ms. Lee. Ken's mic. Yes.
Hi, Gary Beebe, 39 Plaza Place. Won't take up too much of your time, I understand what's on the docket here today. I will say that notification is only 100 feet, not 200 feet.
200.
It's 200 feet.
No one in my area got notified over 100 feet.
It's 200 feet.
I was within 100 feet. They even stated that at the zoning board last week.
No, 200 feet. It's always 200 feet.
You can look it up.
We have a program that we use that the county supplies us.
County supplies.
And I would say that you didn't notify most of the people on Plaza Place, because on this side of Plaza Place, we got notified, and on that side of Plaza Place, they did not get notified.
But are they within 200 feet? They must not be.
Well, if I'm within 100, you cross the street, that's not 100 feet across the street.
I don't know what we.
So here, let me explain the process, so everyone knows again. They have to go to the post office, which I don't know if people go to the post office anymore. They have to get a certified letter. They have to get a green card.
Yep,
The green card gets attached to it. The green card gets returned.
Yep.
I personally go in front of a lot of zoning boards. A lot of people apologize. They don't pay attention.
I had
They
to sign,
don't.
I had to sign for mine, my neighbor had to sign for theirs, and I.
But some people
put their
don't.
Father's name. But
All we have to do is
every
prove, the applicant has to prove that they sent it. So all they have to do is show up with copies of the $7.25 receipt with the address, and the clerk and the solicitor for the planning board verify that they were sent all those things. If a neighbor says they didn't get it, we can still, the applicant can prove that it was sent.
But it was stated at the record at the zoning board that it only needed to be 100
No, you
feet.
mis-
And you
you
can probably go
misheard.
back and, I mean, everything's recorded.
Our clerk is also the planning board secretary. She was there.
Okay.
I mean,
there-
we do
there.
the list.
Right.
Okay. So what's the concern? Do you think, let people know to show up at the next meeting?
Right, absolutely. The other thing I didn't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, was there variances made changes for how close a school, a church, daycare needs to be, right? It's 200 feet, I believe, in their thing, where the Lutheran church is about 442 feet away. The school is within 1,000 feet. How does that play into drug zones around schools? Because cannabis is a drug, even though it's technically legal in the state of the United States.
Once again, these are all things being worked out.
Correct.
And so no one knows what's going on with a lot of this stuff. We're all learning. I apologize. The municipality, we took the position that the people voted for this, that we felt that it was a business that was not going to have, there was negatives to it, but there were positives to it, and we made the decision. You know, once again, I can tell you that council has the right to amend things, change things. We're doing that this evening. That's why you're coming up. We're amending it to make clear that they have to get a license from us, on top of the license they get from the state. They have to pay a tax, which we wanted to make sure that was happening. And, you know, once again, if you look at it, we are making all these hurdles to keep people in compliance.
Sure. Yeah,
But now where you live, to talk to you, there was talk about buffering St. Clair. That's something, if you feel that's important, I think that should be brought up. I'm not allowed to go to these meetings, just so you know, myself and the member of council. We're not allowed to go to these meetings because it's a zoning board, which is a quasi-judicial type of board. We are the appeal body. So if they are denied, they could potentially come to council. So that's why we're not allowed to be there. So anything that you think is important, you need to bring up at the public portion.
Yeah, I went to the last one, I'll be at the next one. I will say I did submit a petition of 30 people in the area that don't want it in this particular spot. We don't care what your views are on cannabis. I also heard from the applicant that their traffic study, or the one they're going to do actually, because they state there isn't really too many studies done yet. And I submitted a study done by an independent company that looked at California, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington, that did it at the zip code level, right? For only a recreational marijuana facility, or cannabis facility, not medical, that's totally different, and showed that fatalities within the area around that building increased by 5.9%. Right, so I argued that even though they thought there weren't any studies out there, there are studies. I submitted them that at the zoning board, and I just hope that the zoning board takes those things into consideration.
So I want to be clear to everyone in the audience again. The applicant at this point is meeting the standards of the town. So they can't be denied, but your considerations, those things can be addressed.
Right, and that's what we're trying.
That's where we're at. So buffer zones,
Yes.
trees, traffic calming measures. Police, one of the things that was brought up was that if there was a problem, that the police department could be involved to do traffic calming if there is some craziness.
Right, because we had heard that
goes
they
on.
would be open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
We did do that. Now, one thing I could say is council has the right to change that ordinance. So that is something we could amend down the road if it is a problem. And I would think that the chief would also give us, and the neighbors would tell us that it's a problem. And I think we would try to work with these businesses. They want to succeed, and they don't want to be a nuisance. If they're a nuisance, they're not going to get their license renewed.
Like I said to Ms. Lee, I was very impressed with the structure and everything that the people that came into my office.
Yes, they had
very impressed.
Yes, they had very good
Because I was
presentation.
open-minded when they came in. I'm like,
Absolutely, the security within the building itself is really good. The issue comes down to, because their security is so good, they only let so many people in at a time. So now that we only have one cannabis place, you're gonna have a line out the door, right? If you approve 2, that may spread things out because people can go to.
And I did make it clear, there are 1,300 applications pending in the state of New Jersey. So the state it's going to be, I'm going to say, very similar to liquor stores at some point. Now, some are going to fail. We believe that some are not going to succeed, and things like that, like any other business.
No, but I mean, like the chief said, there's security as well on the inside. The outside then falls on his.
Well, he can address that, and he's already made that clear. He doesn't want to make work for
People
his
standing
department.
out there all day long.
and that's one of the things, the questions that I said. I don't want our guys getting called there. Well, this guy don't look right. You know what I mean? Can't tie up all the resources. We got to be on point, and we're going to communicate. So I was very impressed with everybody. Just so you know.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on this ordinance?
I don't want to be dead horse, and I was here Wednesday, and I know Ms. Pinto was too. But what it was 200 feet was where the church was, but the residents only got it 100 feet.
No, that's incorrect.
Well, I didn't get a letter, so I live within 200, and I.
Well, if you're on Lindsay, the blocks are at least, your backyard is going to be at least 100 feet, right? 125?
All I know is that
200 feet.
some of our neighbors did not get that letter.
Okay.
So it's,
Look at that.
which is like, but I heard them say, I know Ms. Pinto doesn't agree, but I heard them say that it was 100 feet, got the letter, and 200 feet was the church. And they didn't even address that there was a Calvary church on the block either. They only talked about the Lutheran church. Okay, so just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Okay. We can let the zoning board know to make sure that they review.
Yes,
100%. Okay.
because that's not.
Well, that would be a fatality in their application.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other discussion on this ordinance? All right, seeing no one else, would someone like to make a motion?
Make motion to adopt the second final reading and advertise according to law.
Motion by Mr. Farrell, is
I'll
there a
second.
second by Mr. Ranieri? Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mr. Spiro.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
All ayes on that.
All right, that ordinance is adopted. We have committee reports. Mr. Ranieri.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening, everybody. Mayor, I'm going to rely on my caucus report.
Okay. Public safety, Mrs. Kelly.
Property maintenance report. 29 complaints, 21 re-inspections, 70 co-inspections, CO inspections, re-inspections for CO, 16, 1 court summons issued, and that's from Buck Tuttle. And as the chief explained to everyone, if you're going to email Buck a complaint or some issue, the chief should get copied on that.
Thank you.
please.
Yes, thank you,
I
Chief.
greatly appreciate it.
Yes, we will do that. Okay, for the police department, 1,014 calls for service, 298 traffic summons issued, 78 arrests made, 8 bike patrol shifts, thank you, Chief, that makes me a happy lady, 1 Narcan deployment, and only 1 hour of overtime. Look at that. 1,014 calls for service and only 1 hour of overtime. I gotta brag about that.
The bike patrol is overtime.
Well, yeah, but that I love. Bike patrol.
Okay, it's budgeted.
The overtime is
It's
much
budgeted,
bigger.
it's budgeted, correct? It's budgeted.
My bike patrol is
But
favorite.
it's more than the normal staffing.
Yeah.
It's additional staffing.
Yes.
Okay, about 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, we hired Fire Recovery USA. And that company goes to, the funds from that company that they collect go to our fire department. Up until that time, and for the past 70 years that we've been a fire department, we were never reimbursed for the expenses that we incur at an automobile accident. Well, now with this company,
On the turnpike.
this is all over. This is Fire Recovery USA
Oh.
on all
Not just the
auto
turnpike.
accidents.
Okay. I misunderstood that.
Yes, it's on all accidents. So we have submitted 11 claims, and the amount that is submitted is $6,770.50. The insurance companies are very slow to pay. Out of that, we've only gotten 2 claims, and they amount to over $1,095. But I'm hopeful that this will get better as the insurance companies respond to our claims. So for the first time in all these years, our fire company is getting reimbursed for what they spend at a fire accident. And I'm very proud of that.
That's great.
Okay, our fire department had 43 calls for service, 27 within the Borough of Runnemede, including the New Jersey Turnpike, and 16 mutual aid. Our response time was 5.59 minutes, and we had basically, most of the calls that we had were for false alarms, unfortunately. Yeah, 16% were false alarms. Well, that's the way it goes. They continue their training, and Holy Child Parish had a back-to-school bash, and Squad 7 was there and displayed to the children. The Quint responded to 2 fire dwellings, and it was an exciting time for our fire department. We had 62 EMS incidents this month, and year-to-date was 1,113. And as you know, we have EMS coverage from 6 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. We do not have Runnemede EMS at night or on the weekends. Our Barrington crew, we have a sharing service with Barrington, and they had, get that out. Okay. They had 82 calls for service here in Runnemede. They were on location in 6 minutes, and 62% of those 82 calls were transported. So the Barrington is very responsive, and they're doing a great job getting to our people. I would hope that that 614 could be diminished to maybe 5. I'll be looking at maybe 5 next 5 minutes. Yeah, yeah, put a little pressure on, right?
Some straight pipes on those.
Okay. So I I want to thank Barrington for their service for our residents, and we had a fire marshal report, 95 inspections, and year-to-date, $47,518 collected. That's my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Ms. Passio obviously not here, but she did send me an email, just so everyone remembers, that the Borough Halloween party is October 31st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Field House. There will be a costume contest, food prizes, pumpkin painting, bags of treats, candy, a balloon artist. I know Mr. Ranieri will be there.
And bike patrol.
And Bike Patrol, and Ms. Kelly will be there. Early voting at the Senior Center begins on Saturday, October 29th through Sunday, November 6th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Flu shots at the Henry Williams Building on November 1st at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
In the gym.
In the gym. Harry Williams, the gym area, okay. Okay, so that's Ms. Passio's report. Engineering, Mr. Farrell?
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to go with the caucus report. Pretty basic what was going on.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, I went out and looked on Manor Court. I didn't see anything.
What were you looking for? The 112's complaint?
At one point, there was outrigger from the back.
The backhoe's outrigger, yeah.
Ruts, and our inspector had to fix those. So I don't know if it was in relation to, Mrs. Kelly said it was a hole. So we didn't know what the hole was. If it was a hole in the grass, that was repaired.
So it was repaired probably, okay, after the complaint.
So I haven't heard anything more from Dottie.
If she says anything,
Well, that'll be the next planning board, the next Board of Education.
She should take a picture or something if there's a problem. Okay, but you guys walked up and down the street, you looked
And
up?
everything else is fine?
Our inspector still has some punch list things, and I know we have a drainage issue at the one location. We got to get that taken care of. We will be punch listing and conveying that punch list to the contractor.
By the way, Forest Avenue looks
I'm
great.
just going to say that I made
Wow.
sure I drove on it yesterday.
Did you drive on it?
Wow, wow,
This is stay off that street, that's cut through, shouldn't be cut through.
wow. Thank you, Mark. It really looks beautiful.
Very
All
good.
the rest probably.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Public Works, Mr. Lobenstein.
Progress, just getting ready for the winter. The leavers are all set to go out. It's going to be on the Borough website when they're patrolling, when they're picking up leaves.
Leaf pickup?
It's going to be on the road.
I don't have
Leaf
it, but it's.
Leaf pickup schedule, yeah.
Leaf schedule, and the rest is going to be progress.
Okay, thank you. Parks and Recreation, Mr. Shapiro, anything?
Not on caucus.
Okay, thank you. Solicitors report?
Progress.
Progress. Engineer, did you want to add anything?
I'm going to rely on the caucus report. I am going to add that last Wednesday there was a sewer overflow at CCM Way. We are coordinating with them to try and find out how we can prevent that in the future so that Public Works building isn't affected by the overflow.
Okay, just to make everybody aware, I have a meeting with the director of CCMWA tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I'm bringing a baseball bat.
Broken pipe.
CCM, their plan went down for,
Did they have electrical problems all week?
They have some issues in that building that they need to address.
when their pumps go down, along with the sewer, that's a low point in town,
And
and that's where.
our building is the lowest point. You were straight at the end. Did you see it? Were you around?
I texted him, let him know.
Make you feel good?
So we are.
Don't make a left.
Mark, what about the diversionary, like trough or whatever, supposed to be in front of Public Works?
That's what's going to be discussed. So there's two aspects to this, is the damage that was done to the Public Works facility. I think that's what we talked about. Harry has to come up with what the cost of that was, and then this diversionary method. And then also, it's going to happen again, so we really need to get that. I'm going to propose then that they pave the Public Works that you guys have been talking about for a long time, that if they pave the Public Works parking lot, if the water does flow, we want to keep it away from the residential areas and at least flow back into the, I hate to say the stream.
Yeah.
Back in there, but that's where it's got to go.
But what would, I guess we would make the parking lot so the water would divert away from the building?
It diverts away from the building, away from the men's cars, away from our equipment. And then, but they're supposed to try to fix on their property if it does go down. But the issue that Ms. Straley brought up is that the county's been borrowing a lot of money to fix their pump stations, that they need to fix Runnemede's pump station, that they need to upgrade their electric, upgrade their pumps, because this has now happened twice, and I thought it was 18 months. 3 times, was it 3 times? in the past 2 years?
Twice as much as I know, that's all I know.
I remember twice, you were down there the one time, so.
I was there.
Were you down there the first time? Well, Shelley has a record of 3 times, so.
Is it money?
Okay, was there anything else, Mark?
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Old business done, new business. We are going to vote eventually. Do I feel that everyone had an opportunity, because council is going to take into consideration that marijuana license. Does anyone want to speak about that resolution? It does have to go back in front of the planning board. I think you guys have spoke, but if there's anything else, so the resolution that's on our agenda this evening is basically the next step for them, that they have to go back to the planning board, that will issue a license as long as they get approved. Does anybody have any concerns about that? Okay. All right, then at this point, we're going to continue with our agenda. I'll do the proclamation. Would you want me to read that, Ms.?
Yes.
Okay. This is from Ms. Kelly from the Women's Club. This is from the Office of the Mayor. Whereas the General Federation of Women's Clubs will celebrate its dedication to the awareness and promotion of the physical and emotional well-being of children during the week of October 23rd to October 29th, 2022. And whereas the GFWC is an organization of women from all walks of life that have their common goal of making the world a better place by enhancing the lives of others through their volunteer service. And whereas the GFWC has played a role in many national efforts of powerful advocacy for the physical and emotional well-being of children, including current affiliations with distinguished organizations such as St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, the March of Dimes, and has historically worked for the passage of child labor laws and the Pure Food and Drug Act, supported public education, and was created in 1933 with establishing 75% of U.S. public libraries. Wow. Whereas over the past 130 years, millions of GFWC club women have given their time, talent, and resources to improve the lives of children, including women of the New Jersey State Federation of Women's Clubs of GFWC. And whereas it would be a tremendous honor for the GFWC to make its dedication to the well-being of children and with recognition from the national governors and mayors across the county. Therefore, resolved that New Jersey State Federation of Women's Clubs of GFWC is honored and recognized on this milestone anniversary with a proclamation and declaration that October 23rd to October 29th, 2022 will be known to all as the GFWC Advocates for Children Week in New Jersey. Now and therefore, I, Nick Kapadas, Mayor of the Borough of Runnemede, do hereby proclaim October 23rd through October 29th in the Borough of Runnemede, the General Federation of Women's Clubs Advocates for Children. Okay?
Wonderful.
Thank you, Ms.
Wonderful. That's the first
It's nice
time
that
we've
you're
ever
right.
been able to do that.
It's the first time we've done it?
Yep.
Oh, well, that's nice. Okay. So
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. We're going to group some of the resolutions together just to put them. I'll pull out any that need to be voted individually. So first we have Resolution 22-123, which is a resolution authorizing property maintenance liens. We only have one for $940. Resolution 22-125 is a resolution authorizing interlocal service agreement with the county for $25,000. This is for the playground at the VFW. Resolution 22-126 is a resolution amending curfew hours, and those hours are 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. for trick-or-treating,
That's trick-or-treating.
and any minor violations after 9 p.m.
And, let's see, where is it? 9 p.m. during Halloween,
Halloween week.
or Friday, the 28th through Monday, the 31st.
Okay. We never have any problems with that, do we, Chief? No problems with that. Resolution 22-127 is a resolution authorizing the Borough of Runnemede to hire police officers for employment under the Senate Bill number 362. This is amending the civil service that we spoke about, that law change. Resolution 22-128 is a resolution authorizing Carlos Castros to take the fire subcode official classes. This is our current building subcode official. We need to send him to school to get his license. Resolution 22-129 is a resolution authorizing a refund of overbilled EMS fees. I believe that was a couple small, $30 for a woman in Belmar and $91.40 for a woman in Runnemede on Oakland Avenue. Resolution 22-130 is a resolution requesting approval of items of revenue and appropriations.
Chapter 159.
This is 159 for the
$25,000.
$25,000 goes into a dedicated fund. It can only be used for the VFW playground. And but we're gonna hold that last one, so we'll vote on that individually. So would someone like to make a motion, hopefully to approve 22-123, 22-125 through 22-130?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Lobenstein, is there a second? Second by Mr. Shapiro. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Someone else speak up.
Oh, no one's in a hurry, huh?
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
All right, 5 ayes, those resolutions are adopted. Resolution 22-131 is a resolution conditionally granting a municipal license for the establishment and operation of a facility for cannabis retail by Cottonmouth Dispensary LLC located on 10 East Clements Bridge Road. I just want to make sure that I just want to read the conditions. The conditions are that the applicant is in compliance with the Borough of Runnemede's local codes and ordinance. Should the applicant receive final approval from the CRC, which is the state agency, first in time, which means, once again, everything is predicated on timing. So this is our first one. If they get through the process, they will be our first license if they finish. And pending final site plan approval by the Runnemede Planning and Zoning Board, Cottonmouth shall be deemed approved by the Borough of Runnemede until the license limit is reached. The Borough of Runnemede shall issue written notice to the applicant to all other supported license applications and issue similar written notices to the Commission once the license limit has been reached. The applicant, if approved by the CRC and deemed approved by the Borough of Runnemede, shall comply with all provisions of the Borough Code, including the cannabis transfer tax and user tax. Would someone like to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Kelly, second by Mr. Ranieri. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
Yes, or no?
All right, that resolution is adopted. We have first reading tonight on ordinance 22-13, an ordinance repealing chapter 265, section 5 of the Runnemede Borough Code due to preemption by state law. This is the ordinance that we've been using for 25 years. We are now rescinding it, and we're not transitioning. We may come up with something else. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt on first reading and advise advertise according to law, with a public hearing to be held on the first day of November 2022 at a meeting beginning at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion by Ms. Kelly, second by Mr. Farrell. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
All ayes, 1 absent.
We have bond ordinance 22-14, which we talked about. This is the ordinance authorizing various improvements to the sanitary sewer system and the road improvements related to the issuance of general bonds. I don't want to read the whole thing, but as listed.
You can always just say as.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt first reading and advertise according to law with the public hearing to be held on the first day of November 2022 at the meeting beginning at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Shapiro. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
So just to be clear, we are still moving forward. If you saw an email, did you send it to all mayor and council, the email about the DEP? So Ms. Straley sent out an email, basically that our application for funding automatically is our grant application. So as we're simultaneously borrowing the money from the state, they're also reviewing it to see if it's eligible for the grant, so for forgiveness. So what I'm hoping, of course, is that they look at our application and give us anywhere from 0 to 100% of the amount of money, because I think we're also, once again, first in line. We literally have an application done.
We just got notice on it.
We got notice on Friday, and we're submitting, and our application is submitted at the same time. Mark's going to be positive. What's our chance, Mark?
Come on, Mark.
What are the odds, Mark?
Say 90.
I did not bring my crystal ball.
Make us feel good.
And the little 8 ball you can shake up. All right, so once again, we are still moving forward to get this grant. Would be much better than borrowing the money. All right, we're going to move the payment of bills. Would someone like to make a motion and pay the monthly bills?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Lobenstein, second by Mr. Ranieri. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro.
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
The bill shall be paid. This portion of the meeting is open to the public again. Anyone wishing to speak, just come to the microphone and state your name and address.
Good evening, I'm John Flores, I'm a resident here at 10 West 3rd, directly across the street from Runnemede Cleaners. I have the pleasure of meeting the chief, and I spoke with Mr. Severo. A neighbor whose foundation wall is collapsing on my property now.
Oh.
It's been an issue for a number of years. I brought it to his attention, he said, I'll get to it. The last time I spoke to him, he told me that I should come to one of these meetings and say that I'm on board with his plans for him to continue, to fix my wall. And I told him, I said, look, I just want the wall fixed. My dog is a special needs dog. She can't even go in the back because there's broken bricks collapsed on my property, and I left it there. I have plenty of pictures. So the gentleman, Buck, he went over and he told me he cited this gentleman a number of times. This guy, he goes to the parking lot, the property owner, the one where the wall's collapsing on my property, and he does nothing. The grass is overgrown. A little taken aback when he said, you look at Black Horse Pike, because if you go and look across, right next to my home, directly across the street from the Runnemede Cleaners, you'll see the grass is overgrown on his property. And it's overgrown to the point where it's pushing, it ruined me. I have pictures of everything.
So can I ask you a question? Is it a safety concern?
Oh, absolutely.
So can we?
I mean, I invite all of you over to
No,
come
no.
and see.
So what we need to do at this point, if code enforcement and if it's been in front of the judge or anything like that, one thing we can do, it's possible, but the construction official can deem it a safety hazard. And if it's deemed a safety hazard, we can basically get a court order almost to go in there and take it down. Now, if that wall was to be taken down, what does that do? Does it need to be rebuilt immediately?
Yeah.
See, that's where it gets tricky. We're really good at taking stuff down. We're not real good at rebuilding stuff because we usually only demolish things that are unsafe structures. So the only thing I can say is if our new construction official could look at it, if there's something. Can I ask this question? Because one of the biggest issues we have are neighbor complaints. It's really 90% of my job is neighbor complaints. Is he doesn't have the funds to do it? What is the reason why he's not fixing it?
Well, that's another thing.
Because there are opportunities out there, maybe if he's.
You know what, and that I could believe, but then he bought another property here.
Oh.
So he's buying property because he says he wants to build underground parking and these electric.
I know. He's been cited. I know him now. I'm sorry I didn't know the address when you said it, but now.
Yeah, he's incredible, and he speaks in a very condescending manner.
Yes, I have met with him.
I don't like the guy, and I figured, you know what, I'll leave it to the professionals, because at this point, even Buck told me, there's nothing he can do. There's nothing else he can do.
Well, we could potentially condemn the property.
Yeah.
See if Laggy can condemn it.
We need to send it to our construction official.
Yeah, out of code enforcement.
Yeah, it's out of code enforcement, I agree. Yeah. Once it's declared an unsafe structure, which by your definition of what you're telling us, it fits that definition if it's collapsing onto your property.
Yes.
I don't know what else is.
I'll call Mr. Laggy in the morning. I'm sure Mr. Knight was involved in that in the past. I'm actually looking for that guy for something else. He has a Connecticut phone number.
Yeah. A few years ago, so Mayor, here's what we're permitted to do under our ordinance. A few years ago, sir, what we did was, for this exact situation, we wanted to create an ordinance which lets us, as the mayor said, get the declaration of an unsafe structure, number one. Then we go through a process. It's quick, but he does have due process rights where he has a right to be heard and rectify the situation itself. But it is, you fix it by such and such a date to the satisfaction of our construction official, or by law and empowered by our ordinance, we are permitted to go onto his property ourselves, make the corrections that, not the full correction, Mayor, to your point, that we can knock things down, but we're not good building them back up. What we do is we rectify the imminent hazard. That's what we're constrained, that's the only thing we can do when we go on someone's property. Right. But it's a win-win for the borough because our cost can become a lien on his property. So eventually, it's a great weapon. I think we should use it in, I think people should use it more, not necessarily our town, but now that it's brought to our attention, we can step up the enforcement efforts and hopefully get it done as quick as we can.
I mean, if you drive by, you'll see it's an eyesore, and I love it. I've been here 15 years.
We've been trying, I know the property now.
Yeah.
The only thing I like to remind everybody also is, the courts are always available to you too. You do know that. We are limited in our scope. The civil courts, you do have those means to do that, and that's up to you. You have your insurance company, you have things like that. So I'm not an attorney, he's the attorney. His job is
I'll speak to Mr. Lang.
Yeah, please.
That's where we could possibly come.
What's the address again?
10 West 3rd, that's my home, but it's the parking lot right next to it. Again, you guys are welcome to come over and you can
No, I know the property, and I hate to say this in a public meeting, but the gentleman has delusions of grandeur.
Oh, that guy is.
It is unbelievable what he's trying. I wish him all well, but he's not made any progress in how many years?
Oh my gosh, look, I left Brooklyn to get away from people like that, and it seems like he's getting...
He moved in, yeah.
I missed my 30 seconds the other day.
Yeah.
He's something else. I thank you for your time.
Sorry for making you wait the whole time, but it was a longer meeting tonight.
Thank you.
I'll talk to Mr. Lang.
Thank you again.
No problem.
Have a good night, guys. Take care.
Does anyone else want to come to the microphone? We have an opportunity here. You came out, might as well talk to him.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. How's everyone? My name is Greg Bruce, 4 South Woodland Avenue. My inquiry here today is for a yield for pedestrian sign at the intersection of 4th Street Avenue and Clemensburg Road. So for reference, it's between Philly Diner and the 7-Eleven. It's where the post office box is right there. It's the only marked crosswalk in that area. I have children 8, 4, and 1. My child goes to a venue and votes for preschool. I'd love for my son, who's 8, turned 9, to walk home from school. That's when I started walking home from school, not turned 9. I'd love for him to walk home from school.
So does he take the crossing guard across?
There is a crossing guard there at that intersection. However, as he gets older, maybe there's a practice of some sort. If there's something that he has to do.
So he's later, you're saying,
There's always a possibility that he may have to walk home later from school, in the crossing guard may not be there. But if you ever I've sat and watched that intersection. I've crossed that intersection myself. I didn't like any of you to walk across that intersection.
Yeah.
It takes way longer than you would like to cross that intersection. And if it's just a yield for pedestrian sign there, I'm not asking for lights, sirens, nothing.
Can we look at that? I know it's a state highway.
We have to apply to the DOT to do that.
Okay. I don't think they'd have a hard time with that.
That road is 25 miles an hour going one way and 35 going another way.
30 cents. Then nobody goes there.
No one goes 65 on 295 either.
8 or 9 years ago, we tried to get DOT to change that.
Am I allowed to say in a public meeting we should just change the sign?
You could say that we can certainly look into it and get back to this. Because as I said, we can't make that commitment right now, as great as the idea is.
You understand that the state owns that road. However, it's in our community. So I think the chief and the engineer and our public works department, I think that the state would be very happy if we helped them out and took care of things.
Should I submit a formal request to the state or anything like that?
No. Keep it in the local town.
Okay.
Now, I agree with you. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's why we have a crossing guard
As the
there.
chief, I did that crossing post.
It's a tough.
It's tough.
It's a tough spot.
Crossing. I'm like, okay, let's take it over this. You gotta be careful.
Okay. No, we appreciate it.
It's tough driving on any road now.
Yeah, I agree. That's a busy intersection.
It doesn't matter where you are.
Make me gavel the back audience there. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no one else?
Maria Bantrell, 171. Thank you for listening to my friend Coach Craig. 16 years ago, my sons were in a car accident at that intersection. Near me.
I remember.
Yep. So, thank you.
Yep. That's why we've been putting sidewalks in. If you remember, we put all the sidewalks on Clemensburg Road because they didn't have it. We had a fatality.
And the crossing guard was almost taken out during that accident, so, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Anyone else before we close the public portion? Seeing no one else, is there a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make that motion.
Second by Mr. Lavastan, second by Mr. Shapiro. All in favor? All right. We adjourned at 8:27. Sorry, that was the good and welfare portion. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Is that motion?
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Lavastan, second by Mr. Shapiro. All right, we are adjourned at 8:27. Thank you.